discuss the antics of pro athletes, sports politics, and everything in between. No sport nor athlete is off limits. Now, get you a pitcher of wine and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Lene and Linnell Fletcher, aka the Fletcher Twins.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new episode of A Picture's Worth 1,000 Words podcast. This your girl, Nelly Now.
And this your girl, Nay. What it do, boo?
That's right. And this is episode 3 of our Women in Sports series for 2024. And we have a special guest on today, and she has a very interesting job. And I want her to share all of that and all that it entails with you. So, Nay, go ahead and introduce our guest.
Okay, so I'm very excited because this is the first time we've had someone of her position. So today we are joined by Emily Henderson, and she currently works as a sports photographer. She has experience working with the New York Giants, the University of Alabama, and NFL Films. So without further ado, welcome, Emily. How are you?
Hey guys, thank y'all so much for all those nice things. I'm doing well.
Perfect. Okay, so first we want to just thank you for joining us, taking out the time. Thank you for answering our DM because, we sent out a lot of those and you were one of the ones that answered. So thank you for that. So we're going to just dive right in. So photography. So my first question for you is, how did you get into photography? Was it like always a passion of yours? Specifically, how did you get into sports photography? And did you always want to be, a photographer?
So I got into photography. My sister took it in high school. She's 3 years older than me. And so being the younger sister who's equally very competitive, my sister was very good at photography in high school. So I said, if she can do it, I can do it better. And so she did 3 years of it, her sophomore, junior, and senior year. And so by that point, she was in college and I was coming up right into high school as well. So she told me good things about the teacher, and I said, I've got a period that I can do whatever I want. So let's run with it, and stuck with it for 3 years. But that was not sports focused at all. I mean, it was, you're holding the camera in your hands for the first time. What is shutter speed? What is aperture? What is ISO? Just the bare minimums of settings, and working on training an eye of what to shoot, what to look for. So a lot of portraits, still photos, just nothing really complex. I didn't really get to that until fast forward to junior year in college. So got my start in high school, and then did grad photos and family portraits. And, people always are going to get married, have babies, get a dog. And I thought that was a good way to have a little side hustle and
Nice.
Do something I enjoy. So that's kind of at least how I got into it.
Okay, so when you went to college, so you studied photography in college as well?
I studied news media with a sports concentration.
Oh.
I knew that I wanted to pursue photography, at least in my free time. But I thought I wanted, to be a journalist major, go into journalism. I'm not a super big fan. Like I don't really want to be an ESPN anchor or anything like that, but I wanted to do more of the behind the scenes production stuff. So in venue, behind the camera, or like in the production room, with all the buttons and the bells and whistles. So I got my start working for our local college production station. So we produced, every sport Alabama did, and then we got to freelance through ESPN and SEC Network. So that was my first opportunity as a freshman to be able to get in and, learn from people that are really good at what they do, and do it at an athletic department that has a very high level of success in a lot of areas. So it was great to be an Alabama fan, to be an Alabama student, and then to be working, like on the Heisman. That was crazy as a sophomore to be part of the Heisman 2020 COVID year where Devontae Smith won. I never thought that'd be where I was able to be, but was in the production room for that. So it just kind of built from there. So again, news media, sports concentration. So a lot of writing and videography. And then the photography was my little like safe haven. But I would do, to clear my head a little bit.
Did you always enjoy sports or watch sports, play any sports when you were growing up?
Love sports. By the time I was 3, I could dribble with both hands in basketball. That was my sport from the get-go. So I played for 13 years, varsity, 4 years. And then got basketball back in my life my junior year of college, where I got to be a women's basketball manager. So took up a really bulk period of my time from childhood into high school, and then took a break for 2 years and then put it right back in just because I missed it so much. So always loved basketball, and then being an Alabama fan, you live and breathe football too. So those are my go-to. Those are my go-to.
I always
Nice.
said if I could go back to college, I would do something in film, like behind the scenes. So
Mhm.
very exciting.
You're able to work with
Um,
athletes and not put your body on the line. That's what I like.
True, true. So when I think of sports, photographers, the main thing that I think of is like when I'm watching a game, like an NFL game, for instance, and
Mhm.
like say they catch a football and then like they fall or the crowd falls over the photographers. Has that ever happened to you trying to get like a good shot and you
Mhm.
get trampled over?
I myself have never been of, direct impact to falling over. I've had, a scrape on my shoulder from a shoulder pad, brushed past me. Jalen Hyatt, New York Giants, was running and he was 70 yards, and I've got a zoom lens. So the action in my head is this close. And so by the time I pull my lens away, his breeze, I got this wind blow, and the little shoulder tap. So that's the closest I've been in, but I've witnessed some pretty ugly falls. So, but knock on wood, it's gonna happen. It's part of it. So,
Mhm.
but
Gotta
not
get that.
yet.
Yeah, you got to get that shot. So how did you hook up with the Giants? How did you just apply and got hired? How did that happen?
So there's a website called Teamworks Online. I would recommend it to anyone looking in sports. Again, Teamworks Online. You can set up an account, and pretty much any sports agency, company, team, from minor league mini golf in Florida to MLB, NBA, NHL, they're putting everything from photography interns to nutrition interns to security staff to cleaning. So it has a broad sweep of any sport. So I just kind of kept my eye on anything that was remotely related to video production or photography. And I mean, I'll be honest, I probably applied, I think, 40 applications in 30 days.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Cranking it out, and the Giants just kind of fell in place. I didn't really hear anything from them for 8 weeks, so silence. I'm getting no's from other places and no answer from others. And I get a response from the Giants, and they say, "Hey, you free next Wednesday? Let's interview. Interview on Wednesday and get hired that Friday." So it
Wow.
was
Nice.
quick turnaround, and had 10 days to move and figure out my life and make it work and show up August 15th. So I figured it out, made it work, and showed up.
Where did you move from?
I was born and raised still right back home right now in Birmingham, Alabama, but I was at NFL Films when I was applying for all these jobs. NFL
Uh,
Films was an internship. So graduated May of 2023, so almost a year ago, and then immediately went to NFL Films, which also happened to be in New Jersey. So I was in Central Jersey, right across from Philly, and was there for 10 weeks. And I knew, those 10 weeks were going to fly by, and I didn't want
right.
to have to drive, 18 hours back home to Alabama, go back to my parents' house and say, "Hey, I had this great opportunity. I'm unemployed now." you know? So I was, doing everything I could to apply, get my applications out there, talk to as many people, meet as many people as I could, to then put myself in a position that I could go from NFL Films to another job immediately. And
Mhm.
that ended up happening. I actually had to leave NFL Films 2 weeks early to start with the Giants because the dates crossed over too much. So the
Mhm.
Films was so flexible with me. They were so excited to see me take another step in the league and move from middle New Jersey to 2 hours north New Jersey. So I never thought Alabama girl. I never thought anything about New Jersey. It never occupied any thought in my head. And then I 10 months there.
That's so funny.
Cool.
While you were interning with NFL Films, because I remember I seen something on NFL Film, but I don't know which one it was about. But what was like the coolest film or documentary that you worked on while you were there at the internship?
I was right on the cusp of the big Hard Knocks push. So who's going to be the Hard Knocks preseason? We're trying to get whispers, because at that point it's, May, June of the summer, and preseason starts in July. So
Mm-hmm.
we're all kind of trying to figure out what that Hard Knock season looks like. And I ended up getting paired with Hard Knocks while I was there. So all the directors and the producers, we'd have a meeting every day at 11:15. So I was grateful to be a chair at that table. I didn't say much, but I learned a lot and got to hear the producers and directors talk about what they're looking for. Because it's really the only show out there that has an influx of footage and they build the plot.
Yeah.
A lot of other TV shows obviously have a script. They've got main characters, the villain, the conflict. When you just get 20 hours of footage a day coming in, you have to create who's important, what story are we going to navigate through? And it happened that it was, the Jets, and that story was Aaron Rodgers. So
Oh,
it
wow.
was crazy to be able to see that. And then again, go from working on Hard Knocks Jets preseason to then playing in the same conference with the Giants.
Mhm.
So it was cool to get to, we played the Jets. We sadly lost to them by a field goal, but to be able to look over and recognize a few people from the footage I had watched, working at NFL Films. It was a cool full circle moment for sure.
That's nice. That's
That's
nice.
cool. Nell is a Jets fan.
Yeah.
So has one of your photos been featured like on a high scale, like maybe in a Sports Illustrated that something like that was like a big deal to you?
I would say nothing of that level in terms of like magazine coverage. But when you're at the Giants, you have every photo that you take and you save gets put into a database. So they can pretty much use that, from the moment I take it to the next 10 years. So there are a lot of, scenic photos I took, of the American flag draped over the field, stuff like that can really last a long time. So, they want to use that picture for season ticket holders, for Veterans Day, for Happy 4th of July. And so a lot of those pictures that can be, I guess, multi-purposed. It's cool to at least, keep an eye on their social media, even to, recently be able to look back and be like, oh yeah, it's like a photo I took, and they used it in a YouTube video thumbnail, whatever that looks like. So the impact can happen the day of, where you take it and it's on social media, or it can happen months or years later, just because the database is just so deep. So grateful to be able to, at least put my name in that database and see where those photos go. But for me, I just like to print my photos. I like to obviously add them to my website, share them with friends and family. And if people are interested, I'll show them. But I'm not the biggest person. Look how good I am. Look at my work. People ask, I got a whole folder. I'll definitely show you. But I'd rather, again, let my work talk for me than me talk, just how I play basketball. You gonna watch the shot go in. I don't need to.
Another question, speaking of photos, since you are a professional, what makes a good photo? Is it the angle? Is it the closeness, like if you can see somebody sweat, or is it the moment captured in the photo?
At least for football, I just love the emotion of it. There's so many times, let's say if it's just a field goal kick, there's nothing really special, or an extra point, right? It's really easy. They always make it. So how can you showcase a different element of that moment that might happen, 7 times already in a game day? I've gotten a shot of the grass and the dirt coming up off the turf right as he makes impact. So I'm zooming in right on his foot. A lot of people might zoom out and get the kicker and his motion and the holder.
Right.
Well, I've already gotten that from any game I shot previously. So looking at that moment and saying, okay, I already know how it looks from this angle, from this many feet away. How, honestly, sometimes if I've already got that far away, how close can I get to something that's new? And just for example, to be able to see that grass, that dirt, that turf fly up, you get a close up of a cleat with a flashy color, you get the ball moving, across your frame. So again, it's a simple moment, but you look at that picture, and it captures your attention more than just seeing an extra point go on the board. So capturing a moment, looking for it, and don't be afraid to get close to it.
Nice, nice.
So go ahead now.
No, I said I agree with the moment capture, because a lot of people, like, let's say artwork, for instance, a lot of people don't understand why people pay millions of dollars for a piece of artwork, but it's you can interpret it different ways, but like the moment capture, like for like action art or whatever, people
Yeah.
doing things, completely understand that the capturing the moment is what makes a photo great to me.
Yeah. You don't get that moment twice, you know. You either get it or you don't, and it's next play.
Speaking of that, that goes into my next question that I just thought of. So sports photography, so normally like on the sideline, you maybe see like 4 or 5 photographers or in the end zone.
Hmm.
And so is it between the photographers, is it very competitive? Like, do you try to rush to get a specific spot so you get the best shot? Like, is it like compare like yeah, or is it like a hierarchy? The person who's been there the longest get this specific spot because they know they get the better pictures over here. Like, how does that work as far as competition with that, with the position?
I didn't realize, but I mean, being in New York, the New York sports market is the biggest in, you know, in all of sports. New York is all about their sports. So I would say there are moments where it can get crowded on the sidelines, but people are different heights. I like to shoot standing up and have my camera up here. Some people like to have their camera closer to the ground and they have like a tripod, a monopod, and they're kind of on their knees shooting. So you can have the same person be pretty much in the exact same spot. I'm standing and they're sitting, and our lenses are both going there, but we'll never bump or swing or hit anything, hit anybody. But there are moments where you wish, oh, that would have been great if I was there in that spot. I will say, working as a Giants photographer, as the official Giants intern, it did give me access, you know, to be on the field for pregame. You know, if we won or if we lost, I could be in the bench area, run onto the field, take pictures of our players doing jersey swaps. So I had like a full range of access that, you know, maybe a newspaper photographer might not have. So it wasn't really much competition for me because I could just show my badge and, you know, go anywhere I wanted. So I was very fortunate to have that as my first experience, to not have to worry about it. But everyone I met was super nice, or if they're not really nice, they're just quiet, and that's fine too.
That's cool. So with you being a woman photographer in sports, specifically like football, that's more of a male dominated sports, what are some of the obstacles that you faced thus far or experienced? And also on the other hand, what are some of the perks?
Hmm. I mean, I am so grateful to be able to say that I haven't had a negative experience being a woman in sports, coming from Alabama, working under Nick Saban, working at NFL Films, then working at the Giants. You know, it's been nice to be able to have colleagues that are around me that are, you know, male and female. I feel like there's been a good mix. The Giants, especially, you know, they just celebrated National Women's Day, or Women's Day in sports, and had a whole graphic of over 60 women that work everything from, you know, a player personnel to, you know, kitchen staff to people in my production department. So I can't really speak on any negative experiences. I'm grateful to say that, again, just let my work speak for itself, and, you know, just be someone that's friendly, inviting, that wants to do good work and just isn't afraid to work hard. And then a perk of that being a woman in sports, I'll be the first to say I love a job where I can wear joggers and a sweatshirt. So that is a huge perk for me
That
as a
is.
woman in sports, you know, wear the team gear. You know, I just happen to have a hat right here. Like, if the curls weren't looking as good, boom, this is what's going on. And it's giant, so nobody can say anything.
That's a good point because I guess people don't think about it, but yeah, in the everyday, like in a corporate world, like a office job, women usually have to dress up. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
if I would trade in my pencil skirts any day for some joggers.
100%. And, you know, I'm not worried about what earrings I have, or, you know, how good my makeup might be. I'm thinking of which Jordans, which shoes am I going to pull out this week, you know? And I'll say that's a good problem to have as a woman in sports. So that's a big perk for me. Um, I feel like another big perk is that it makes it a lot more approachable to network with someone that is another woman, because they, you know, they kind of get it. Not that it makes it difficult to talk to anybody else, but it's just nice because, it's always good to hear, well, how did you get into sports? What was your role? Do you have any advice for me? And so my boss at Alabama, she was a female. My bosses at NFL Films, one was male, one was female. So being able to pick both of their brains, there's obstacles to any industry, especially one that's oversaturated like sports can be. So if anything, just have good work, a good work ethic, and things will fall into place. And if it's, you never want to walk into a room you're not wanted. So if it's not for me, I don't want to be there anyway. So you just kind of have to have that attitude of next up. And that's just kind of at least what's worked for me. So again, grateful to say good experiences and grateful for where it's taken me.
Cool, cool. How do you manage your work-life balance?
At NFL Films, my work-life balance was much easier. It was a standard 40 hours a week, 9 to 5. And so they were very much like, obviously get your work done, but we're not going to hold you longer. You're an intern, we can, XYZ, we can only pay you this much, which also factors in, but it gave me a lot of time to connect with the other 11 interns that were all my age from all across the country. So, we would get to go and take the train into Philly and go out on a Friday night, or, we went to the beach together for 4th of July, and that was a very nice balance. But when you work in the NFL, I mean, some weeks are 50 hours, some weeks are 65 hours. You gotta want it. So I would say my work-life balance was a lot of work, and I was good at balancing work, but I wouldn't say there was a good balance of life within that. And I came up to the Giants to get better and to work. So I kind of prioritized that. And obviously, there are gaps, and you can make your fun and, have fun while you're at work. But NFL Films, there was just more free time. You're capped at 40 hours, whereas when an NFL season comes and you've got the Tommy DeVito hype and, you've got all these things coming, and you just got to be ready and come early, stay late, whatever it takes. But as an intern, you're trying to prove yourself. So when you can stay late and be there early and, do it, joyfully, that speaks volumes to the character that you have. And it's a way to separate yourself from the rest too. So I didn't mind it.
I told, because I do these little speeches on my Instagram every Monday, sitting in my car before I go to work. And I was saying something like that like a few weeks ago, and I was like, because nowadays you could do a hybrid schedule, like you could do 3 days in the office and 2 days out. And I was like, well, if y'all trying to move up into another position, I would encourage you guys to go there 5 days a week, because it's going to separate you from the other person. And I was like, what if you and somebody else is going after the same promotion, and the boss see him and be talking to him 5 days a week and only see you 3 days a week? Who you think he going to choose?
Exactly.
The person he knows, and that's being there every day.
Yeah, being present is huge, I would say. But if you're going to be present, come prepared. Don't come present and not be ready to contribute. So that's another thing, with everything moving at the pace that it does when it's an NFL season, you've got all this work that goes in between 6 days of the week to play one game. Where NBA, these teams play 3 to 4 games a week. The turnover is next, whatever. Whereas when your sole focus is just for 4 hours on a Sunday, on a Monday, on a Thursday, and everything builds to that, you can kind of feel the energy or the tension rise as you near that, explosive moment of actually playing. So you need to make sure that you kind of read the room a little bit too. I can't come in guns blazing every single time, because that might not be where my bosses are at,
Okay, speaking of basketball, and I know you played basketball, we're in like March Madness, right? So how do you have any Cinderella team that you think can go far, or who do you have it winning it all? What is your take on that, on the tournament?
I mean, I'm a little biased as someone that was working with the Alabama women's basketball team. I hope they make the final 64 teams. I hope they do well, maybe win around one game, whatever that looks like. But I think we all could say that South Carolina LSU SEC championship game was heated and had a lot of attention. So I'm excited to see what both those teams do. And if there's a rematch, get those viewerships up because people are going to want to see it. So
Yeah.
however they land, I'm pro SEC. So go South Carolina, go LSU. Let's see what happens and see how Caitlin Clark obviously throws in with Iowa and Ohio State's pretty good. You've got your Stanford, your UCLA, your UConn Huskies. Paige Buchers is back. So I'm a fan of, all the good ones that pretty much reach the top. My underdog's always going to be Alabama. I'm always going to say Roll Tide. But again, if it's not Alabama, let it be an SEC team. Make everybody else look good. So we'll see how it plays out. It's an exciting time of the year for sure.
Okay. Yeah, so we are going to get into the SEC championship, but first, what advice would you give women that's trying to come into the sports industry and work?
I would say wherever you are, look for people that are better than you at it. So me being back in Birmingham, Alabama, if I was trying to get started, I would look at local high schools and see, does their track team have a media day? Does their swim team have headshots? Is there a marketing agency that does video promotions for their clients? That you can research all that online. You don't even have to talk to somebody to get that information. Make a list of who you can contact or who you can reference. And as sad as it can be sometimes when you're starting out, you got to be willing to do stuff for free and to prove yourself. So I'm not an advocate for free work, especially if it's good work, but I mean, we all had to start somewhere and you're just grateful that someone let you help them. So I would say look for people that are better than you and look for areas that you can bring immediate value, especially when they don't have any. A swim team, let's say they don't have any headshots. Parents eat that up. If it's a high schooler, it doesn't get a lot of coverage. Hey, I'll go photograph a swim meet. Hey, I'll set up my own media day and just bring an extra, buy a cheap light off of Amazon and just try to create something that's decent. Because if you can just get something that's decent when you start out and the bar's at 0, decent becomes good.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that level is already nothing.
Yeah.
And once you get really consistent at it, your decent will obviously get to be good, great, whatever, and your work will speak for itself. And let's say those swim meet pictures look really good. Call up that tennis coach. Hey, coach, I just photographed swim meet. I noticed y'all's players have done well, or whatever that may be. Maybe for $30 a day, whatever that rate needs to be to make it normal as you're starting out, $30 for an hour match. I'll come in and give you everything I got. So I think that's a great way to get started. Don't be afraid you can't come in and say, I'm ready for the NFL. So I would say start local and bring immediate value wherever you can. Because we live in a digital age that you think everybody has a TikTok. Every brand has an Instagram, and that's just not true. There's smaller stores that have no social media presence. And if you can come in and, shoot one reel a week for them and get paid $50, that's $200 by the end of the month. And they had nothing before you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, look local and be curious and don't be afraid to pitch yourself. Hi, I'm Emily Henderson. I do this and this, and I see a lot of value in your company and what you bring. And I'd love to be able to actually show that to my generation who's online. So having a good pitch always helps, but if you go local, that also helps because people may know you, your family, makes it a little less intimidating. So that way when, you get to be in college and Nick Saban's right next to you, you're cool. It's easy. So that would be where I would start.
That was very good advice. Okay, so last question before we get to our hot topic. What is next for you? Like what are your goals or do you have anything in the pipeline coming up soon?
So right now I've been applying for jobs this week. I've been able to get some traction, so that's been really big. Just this week alone, I've had like 3 interviews with 3 different teams. So that's been exciting. So again, it comes in a big push and then you hear nothing and then a big push. So it's patience. They always say trust the process. So that's kind of where I'm at. So it's nice to be able to have interest. There's, times you're like, well, will I ever be employed again? Will I ever get to work with a team again? And then the floodgates open or however that works. So just trusting in the Lord's timing and where he wants me and just being grateful for anybody I can talk to. So even if it's not me, they remember the name and I might come back, for a full-time job in 3 years, or, it just helps if you can be in front of people and pitch yourself appropriately. And even if you don't land it's never wasted. It's good interview prep regardless.
Mhm, mhm.
True, this is true. All right, now, do you have something else before we get into the hot topic?
Yes, and it's a little controversial.
Let's get into it.
Since you are good with the camera, who got the best camera, Samsung or Android? I mean, or
Oh.
iPhone?
I've seen some good stuff from Samsung. I'm gonna be honest. I've seen the Android zoom in. I've seen some concert videos that have really kept it together. So I've only experienced iPhone right now, but I'll be honest, I have a really small Canon camera that's maybe the size of my fist. So if I'm
Mhm.
going anywhere where I really want a good picture that I know I can obviously create and develop myself, I'm not going to even trust my iPhone or Android or anybody. I'm going to trust, my own
That
camera
camera.
equipment. So I'll lead with that. If it's, something cute, silly, friends or whatever, a phone will do fine, regardless of what brand.
Uh-huh.
But if it's, nature or vacation or something, I'm gonna bring out the big guns every now and again for sure. For sure.
Good answer. I'm team Android.
I've seen some good stuff from them. iPhone better figure it out. I don't know. It,
I have an iPhone, but I can agree that Android cameras are better.
mhm.
I can agree with that. Okay, so this week's scandal is about the SEC championship. So it was between LSU and South Carolina, and South Carolina did win. I think it was 79-72. And so basically, with like a little bit over 2 minutes left, Flau'jae Johnson, which she plays for LSU, she had the ball, but it was stolen from her, and then she did a hard foul on Malaysia, which plays for South Carolina. And so she did a hard foul on her, and then Johnson shoved South Carolina's Ashlyn Watkins, like she shoved her. But nothing happened from that. But because she shoved her, South Carolina's Cardoso came and basically pushed her so hard that
Mhm.
she literally felt like she fell hard on the, like she hit the court like somebody tackled her.
Mhm.
And that girl was like what almost 7 feet tall. I don't know how
Yeah.
tall Flau'jae was, but she wasn't that tall. And so basically both benches erupted. A lot of players got ejected. Flau'jae's brother jumped over the scoreboard to kind of try to protect her, but then did nothing. So I think that was a waste of time. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on that? It's very competitive and I do like it, and I wouldn't be mad at another matchup or
I
rematch.
mean, I love competition, but I also feel like there's a moment where you have to stay in your lane. And I've been in moments where it's emotional. It's a game of, throwing elbows sometimes, there's hair pulls. And it's just, people get surprised that girls are competitive. I mean, catch up. Like, come on. So I don't ever oppose a good competition, but um, if someone flexes in your face, South Carolina, one of their players flexed in Flau'jae's face after she got that hard foul. And
Mhm.
then that's when Flau'jae reacted. So some can say that the flex on South Carolina taunted Flau'jae to then do that shove that had XYZ happen afterwards. But I'm like, you're going to have to face adversity in life. And whether it's somebody bragging in your face or somebody getting what you think you deserve, and you can't go nudging, throwing a shoulder or whatnot. Because even though she did that first nudge, she's the one that ends up on the floor. And that wasn't right. Cordosa, the South Carolina post, that was not appropriate at all. But I think I really do admire how Coach Dawn Staley approached it. As soon as she got into that press conference post game, she started and said, I just want to apologize. That's not what we want to represent as women's basketball. That's not what we represent as South Carolina. I'm going to deal with my players' actions accordingly. That's not how we want to represent our game, especially as it's growing. And to be at this scale, we don't need to lead with emotion. Emotion's fine to be there, but you just don't lead with it. So And as a person watching the game, I want to see the last 2 minutes. I'm sitting watching 12 minutes of replays. So as a fan, I'm like, come on, guys. But again, that was a lot of ejections, dismissals, figuring out who left the bench, who entered the court, who can't play the first round of the tournament. So I thought the refs did what they could to handle it well. As a fan, it took a lot of time, but yeah, and Flage's brother, he got arrested. So that was a big waste too. So it's not what you want to see. It's not what you want to see. If you want to see a sport where they can fight, watch hockey.
Yeah, yeah. And so before this happened, obviously, because I think Cardoso got ejected, there was a clip where what's the girl? What's the
Is it Angel Reese when she
yeah.
elbowed and then pulled the hair?
She pulled the hair of the girl who pushed Flage.
Mm-hmm.
So like she literally pulled the girl's hair. You know, she had the long
Yeah, she got the locks. Yeah.
hair. So I saw that, but also, you know, LSU ever since they beat Caitlin last year, they done had the big heads. So they not used to losing.
No. And I mean with media comes more attention and
Yeah,
whatnot.
they blew up last year.
So yeah, it definitely unfolded at a faster rate. But my big thing is you can choose not to react. You can't obviously control other people's actions. But just because there's an action doesn't mean there has to be an equal and opposite reaction. Sometimes that reaction is walking away. And that's, that's fighting the flesh. You want to go after and, eye for an eye, but you represent your university and that wasn't a good look. So if I'm the director of athletics at South Carolina and the director of athletics at LSU, I'm shaking my head and having a meeting with my coach immediately, because that's not good for the university, the standard, women's basketball, all about it. So if someone, whether it's a flex in your face, a hard foul, or whatever, make both your free throws and win the game, and the other team will be sad and think about losing rather than, this dirty play. So, I mean, that's just how it is, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy because like you mentioned before, it wastes a lot of time, like with the rewinding and all the officials. So as a fan watching, you're like, okay, let's get over this, let's get over it. But back to the push. So what Flage didn't just fall, okay? She lifted up in the air and was paused in the air, mind you, midair for like 2 seconds and then hit the ground. That was like one of the hardest falls I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, oh my God, like they would have had to carry me on a stretcher to go home.
Yeah.
Because that was so hard. But luckily their bodies is basically a muscle. So it probably didn't affect her that bad. But I was like, geez, like, was it that serious?
I'm looking back, I'm like, I didn't know I was watching wrestling. Like, what's going on here? So yeah, I mean, and then you have, the LSU coach, Kim Mulkey, say, push someone your own size, which I don't know is the best reaction. I don't think I think of that. That's not how I would react as a coach, but it was a very easy shove when you got a height difference of 7 inches. So, and I don't think it was a flop. She didn't expect it
at all.
So, I know my tailbone, I could feel like hurting just talking about it. So,
and I when I fell ice skating one time, I had was it fractured? Yeah, I fractured my tailbone and literally couldn't walk for like a week. It was insane. I had to go to the hospital. So that's for her to not be hurt, like, or seriously injured, that was great. But yeah, we don't want to see that, especially when it pauses the game and we're trying to get these last 2 minutes in. But we'll see how it all plays out, because definitely, like y'all said, if they get a rematch, everybody gonna be watching it. Okay.
Everybody ready. And I will say this, something that doesn't get talked about when, this is mentioned in sports. Even though South Carolina won, they're some of their 3 to 4 best teams. Everyone that had to be sent back to the locker room missed the celebration, didn't see the confetti fall, didn't hold the trophy, didn't get a picture with their team. So I think that is what hurt the most. If I reacted poorly, I'm in the locker room, okay, I can't play. That's a consequence of my actions. And then to realize another consequence of my actions is I can't celebrate with my team. And we just were very successful and we won. I think that's the part that would hurt me the most. Yes, I'm hurt that my actions, affected so many people in the game like it did. But personally, I'd be distraught to know my senior year, we won SC championship, and here's the photo that's going to be put in the arena, and I'm not in it because I chose to react poorly. So for me to know that those players weren't welcome back on the court, it broke my heart, but it also you made a decision and there are consequences to that. So I hate that it happened in a game where there was celebration that would ensue and memories to be made and a net to get cut down. And there are some pretty important factors that didn't get to experience that because, of a mistake and all that. So I feel sorry for them. But again, there's only so much you can feel sorry for if you put yourself there. If you put yourself under the bus and it runs you over, I don't know. I don't know, but very sad on both parts. So looking forward to however they meet up again or whatever their success, wishing them both, better publicity in the future. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so it's time for our highlight of the week. So this week, sticking with women's college basketball, we want to highlight the Big Ten Conference. It was between Iowa and Nebraska. Caitlin Clark plays for Iowa. And it was the most watched conference game ever, and it peaked in overtime with 4.45 million viewers. It was the most watched women's college basketball on CBS in 25 years.
Wow.
So we want to give it up to women's college basketball. They is doing their thing this year. And I think it all started last year with that championship game.
Agree.
So we want to say kudos to them. Everybody in women's college basketball, we want to say kudos to them. And now, Miss Emily, do you want to go ahead and give our viewers your social media platforms, any way they can contact you?
Yeah, I would say just the best way to do it is how y'all did it too. I'm hendy.photo. That's HENDY period PHOTO. Hendy.photo on Instagram. You can shoot me a DM. I try to post a little bit more regularly. Should probably get back to it. But the off season's slow. So you can check out my work, my portfolios in the bio. I also have a contact page on my portfolio. So either if it's directly through Instagram, do a DM. If you hit my portfolio, there's a contact page there too. So hard to miss me. So whatever works best, that's where I'll be.
Nice.
Great. Thanks so much. So we want to thank you again for coming on and taking out the time to speak with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to, see all the other guests that y'all have and, women in sports and women in general. I'm grateful to be a part of it and, to be this young, have the experience that I have and share it and, hopefully get better.
True
That's
that.
right. That's right. So yes. So like they said, thank you for joining us and being a part of our Women's Sports Series for 2024. It's been amazing. Had a great time. And I never even thought, honestly, I never even thought about women being sports photographers. It just never crossed my mind. I never thought about it. Maybe because they don't, maybe when I only see men or they be having like cover on them and we can't really see their faces. So it's probably a lot of women on the field. We just don't know that they're women. So it was so great interviewing you and finding more information about that field. And that's the field to y'all listening, because I'm pretty sure it's a lot of other things in sports that we don't even think about. And we don't even think, oh, that can be a job, that can be an internship. I never knew. So I'm glad you provided them with what was it, teamworks.com?
Yep. Teamworks Online will really help a lot of people. I've been hired twice through there, so I'm a testament that it works.
Perfect. So thank you once again. And we had a great time. To our audience, please always tune in next week, but also listen, comment, share, subscribe. And word of mouth is how we get everything out and how we grow as a community. Thank you once again, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of A Picture is Worth 1,000 Words with yours truly, the Fletcher Twins. Make sure you join us every week and rate, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit up our email at podcast.1000words@gmail.com with any questions or topics you'd like to hear us cover. Also, check us out on IG at the Fletcher Twins and Facebook at A Picture is Worth 1,000 Words.